Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to, I've lost track of what number it is, but welcome to another Thursday episode of a Womansplaining Live. I'm Julie Barrett, founder of Conservative Ladies of America. And we're going to dig into some of the latest things happening around the country. And I know a lot of you are probably watching from Washington, and there's a few things that I'm going to cover from Washington. So let me know, leave a comment, let me know where you're watching from. If you have any current issue that is important to you, or you want to ask me a question, or you just want to bring up a topic, please feel free to leave that in the comments as well. We've got Jeannie is from our leadership team, and she's on X in the chat right now. And on YouTube, I see Leslie Williams. Both of those gals are on our team in Washington. Who knows for how much longer they will be in Washington? We'll see. Things are going crazy in Washington State and Washington, D.C., and here in Florida and in Texas and around the country. It's madness. It is absolutely madness. So, today we're going to talk about the madness, and I'm really frustrated with Republicans in particular, because Democrats are Democrats and they're going to do what they're going to do, to be expected. But when Republicans act like Democrats, it's maddening. It's infuriating. And here in Florida, where we have a Republican supermajority and we have the most conservative governor in the country, our legislature is ignoring the DeSantis agenda, and they're just going along with their squishy socialist Democrat garbage. There's like some carbon nonsense bill that they're pushing forward, and they're not moving forward with the property tax elimination agenda that DeSantis has set forward. And there's medical freedom stuff that he wants them to work on, which all of we, the people, want that as well, which is why we elected him as governor. And so there's all kinds of crazy going on here in Florida legislature. I know just before I hopped on here, I saw that Texas passed a school choice bill. And school choice is not a conservative policy. I mean, that's a whole separate video. And if you go on our YouTube channel and you look under our live videos, I did an interview with Robert Bortons, who is the CEO of Classical Conversations. And he actually just was on the Sean Ryan show, because Sean Ryan is always looking to me for content ideas and interesting people to interview. So he just went on the Sean Ryan show. He's such a good voice for why school choice is not conservative. And he's so articulate about it, and makes it really easy for people to understand. So I would highly recommend that you go watch my interview with Robert Bortons on our YouTube channel under the live stream section. But that is a huge bill that just passed in Texas. And there was a huge coalition of conservative citizens in Texas who strongly opposed this legislation and have fought it tooth and nail. And there was lots of dirty tricks and uniparty stuff going on with this whole thing. I honestly don't know. Maybe I see Joy Gerswald from our team has been following this bill really closely. So Joy, maybe you can put what is the next step for that school choice bill in Texas? Does that go to Governor Abbott, or does it still have legislative process left on that? So that adds a lot of spending from the government. And anytime you grow government, that is not a conservative policy. Anytime that government is dictating your choices with their funding, if you have to ask the government for it, it isn't choice. It's not conservative. And school choice comes with a bunch of strings, a bunch of data collection, the government all up in your child's education business. If you're going to get your kid out of public school, homeschool them or pay to do private school, but just you're basically moving the government from one school to another school, and it's the school choice thing is just getting ramped up, and it's going to be actually kind of scary where it goes. But we'll do more on that. Maybe we should have Joy come on next week and talk about the Texas bill and get us all up to speed on what happened there and the warning for the rest of the country, because every Republican state is like, we're going to do school choice and it's going to be so great. And it's not. So that is what's going on in Texas. Now, I want to talk about something that's going on in Washington, D.C., that you may or may not have heard of. I'm going to put an image up here on the screen. So this is Representative Brittany Peterson. I think she's from Colorado, and she's been doing this media campaign with her baby. She and Representative Anna Paulina Luna from Florida, they put on the House floor for the rules. I don't know all the technical names for what they did, but to have proxy voting for new mothers who would not be able to get to physically to the House floor to place their vote, they would get to do proxy voting. And I think this is a really bad idea. And I'm all for, women having careers if that's what they want. And I myself am a mother of 4 children. But as a mother, not every job was suitable for me raising my children. In a perfect world, I wouldn't have had to go outside of the home to work and would have been able to stay at home and raise my kids. In hindsight, I really regret that. And I didn't really have a choice. I was a single mom for a grand total of like 15 years. And so I had to go to work. But even still, like, one of the things as mothers, as new mothers, not every job is suitable for us. And certainly being a congresswoman that's a huge privilege and honor. And when you sign up, when you become a candidate and you want this position, you should consider the fact of, because family's number one, right? God, family, country. And if you have to sacrifice your precious time with your family, because these babies, man, it goes so fast. I mean, you blink and they're, 18, and it's insane. You have this really short amount of time with your child. That's the number one place that you could be. And I certainly had moments during my years when my kids were little feeling like I should be doing something more important than just being a mom. And as a single mom and having kids in trauma, and so they were going to, therapy appointments, and we had court appointments, and there was a lot of stuff going on. I couldn't have a regular 9-to-5 job. I had to shut my business. I owned a gym in Washington. I had to shut my gym down, sell all my equipment. And I ended up doing social media contract work for small businesses in Western Washington. And that allowed me to be wherever my kids needed to be. If I had to go sit in a waiting room while a kid was in therapy or whatever it entailed, I was able to be where my kids needed me. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was what I needed to do. And as parents, we have to do that more often than probably we want sometimes. But that's our job as parents, to do what we need to do, not necessarily what we want to do. And so I say, I was a couple of Republican senators in Washington came to me in the spring of 2022 and asked me if I would run for the Senate seat, the state Senate seat in my legislative district. And I considered it. This was before we decided to move. I considered it, but we had so much stuff going on. With my daughter was out of state. We were still going through a lot of stuff with the kids, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't give everything that my kids deserved and everything that my constituents would have deserved of me. And so I think there's nothing wrong with saying, take time and be with your family. And that's in the best interest of your child. It's probably in the best interest of the mom as well. And it's in the best interest of the constituents. So I'm curious what you guys think about this. My opinion is that we shouldn't do proxy voting. I think it opens the door wide open for this to be used for, someone made the comment about there was a congresswoman, I don't remember the name or what state she was from, but she hadn't been showing up to vote. And they found her in like a nursing home after several months of her not showing up to vote. So I think this is such an important job that you are required to show up in person. That is, your job is literally to be voting on policies. So it should be a requirement of the job that you show up and you vote on policies. So that's my 2 cents on that, but I'd be curious to hear what you all think as well. And also I should note on this, I didn't know this until just before I came on here because I was looking it up. My congressman, Greg Steube here in Florida's 17th district, voted along with these ladies for proxy voting. I'm extremely disappointed in that. He is usually pretty conservative, but that was not a good thing. So I think I'll send him an email and let him know my thoughts. As a mom and dad, we are to protect our children. This is putting your child in direct front lines. Totally agree, Leslie. And I think it's interesting how she wants proxy voting because she can't be bothered to show up to vote in person. And here she is, she's able to do media hits with her baby and using her baby as a prop, which I don't like that either. I think your family, if you're that's just my opinion. I think it's really important to protect our families. I try to do that as much as possible. I think anybody who is putting themselves out there, even if you're on social media, speaking out on some of these things, you just want to protect your family, especially if you have little children. You don't there's crazies in this country. And especially if you are a conservative in Washington state speaking out against this, you really want to protect your children. So, all right, let's move over to Washington state once again. Did you guys see Bob Ferguson did a press conference? I think it was on Tuesday. Because it was April 1st, so April Fools. And I'm going to put this is from, you guys can probably see this better. I don't know what I'm doing here. What am I doing? Where'd it go? Let's do that. There we go. It's better for you guys. Okay. So he criticized the Democrats' budget proposals, particularly the wealth tax, due to its concerns about its constitutionality, which I find that hilarious because this guy, as Attorney General, he was the one who was all about a ton of unconstitutional firearms policies, like the assault weapons ban. That was his baby for many, many years. We know he likes the high capacity magazine ban as well. He also was the advocate, and I think he authored the idea for the hate crimes and bias hotline. He also has something similar to that that's along the lines of abortion, where people can go onto this website in the Attorney General's office and report anyone that's interfering with their right to reproductive freedom. It's kind of like an abortion hate crime, if you will. And he was House Bill 1333, which never did pass, but it got funded. That is the Domestic Extremism and Mass Violence Task Force. And the bill, the funding bill, actually, the budget has more funding for this task force, and it has more funding for the hate crimes and bias incidents program that's getting rolled out. The pilot's going to be rolled out this summer, and then it will be launched statewide. I believe it's January 1, 2027. He stressed protecting state reserves and avoiding uncertain revenue sources, while Democrats aim to reach a budget agreement he can support. Republicans praised, I can't even do it with a straight face. Oh, man. Republicans praised Ferguson's opposition to the wealth tax, hoping for further resistance to other tax proposals and negotiations continue before the April 27th deadline. Are you new here, Republicans? Are you new? Do you not know who this man is? He was the Attorney General for 12 years, and he did everything in his power to take away First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights. He hates conservatives. He hates Christians. Like, it's so transparent what he's doing, and they're just falling right into his trap. People I saw on X, Republicans, conservatives were like, oh, he's turning out, I really like him, he's turning out to be such a moderate governor. And he hasn't vetoed anything yet. He hasn't signed any bills. He hasn't done anything really. I mean, he's directed the Attorney General Nick Brown to oppose and file lawsuits against the Trump administration. I've lost count of how many there are now, but they have filed a number of lawsuits against the Trump administrations, which have been upheld in the Washington Supreme Courts. You know that he is totally fine with the gas ban, the not prohibiting a gas ban, that what was that, I-2066? He's totally fine with them overturning that. And I'm certain that he is fine with the Democrats repealing the Parents' Rights Initiative, which was Initiative 2081. I haven't heard him speak out about that. We know that he wants to protect immigrants and refugees from ICE. He came out, I think it was the end of January or the beginning of February. He did a whole press conference, and there were a bunch of refugee and immigrant groups at the press conference. They even sang a song where he is doing more work with what they call the Keep Washington Working Act. And this is something that was actually implemented in 2019 in the first Trump administration, and it is all about protecting immigrants and refugees. So, I think these Democrats are fully evil. I think they're very deceptive, and I think they're very strategic. And I think they're working together. I think that the Republicans like to think that there's discord, and there may be some power struggles going on. But at the end of the day, I think you are going to see most of these bad bills are going to get rammed through, and Ferguson is going to take the stroke of his pen to most of these policies. So why, like, maybe he will veto a wealth tax, but let's just be silent until we see what's going on. I think the Republicans are playing right into their hands, because it wouldn't surprise me if, like, the Democrats in the legislature know that Ferguson's going to go out and do this press conference, and this is what he's going to say. I don't think any of this is a surprise to them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if you're watching Washington legislation, you are seeing all of these taxes come through. There's property tax. There's a terrible payroll tax that's really going to hurt businesses if they push it through. I know there's a few other different taxes, but it's bad. And I think it's really going to hurt the citizens. Probably won't notice it maybe this this year, 2025. But I think the next time you go to pay your property taxes, or they're going to just start nickel and diming you. Gas tax. I think there's another gas tax thing going on, and several other things. And we kind of haven't really been tracking the tax stuff too much because it's outside of our scope of focus. And truth be told, our team is extremely exhausted. It's been a nonstop fire hose of communist garbage out of Olympia. And we don't really have, obviously the Democrats are going to be Democrats, but even the Republicans don't like us. And so we don't really have friends in the legislature anymore. And kind of the good guy, Clippert and Sutherland and Patton and some of these guys that we used to work a lot with are gone. And many of the Republicans there that are currently in the legislature, they don't want us there. If we don't agree with them on everything, then they don't want to work with us on anything. So that's really frustrating. And it's really sad because we could at least work together where we do agree, which is probably 75% of the time. I'm going to look at some of your comments. He campaigned on his family. Oh, Bob did. Yeah, Evelyn. Hi, Evelyn. He definitely campaigned on his family and the fact that he's a 6th generation Washingtonian. Yes, he totally did that. Washington state is the worst. Our family can't stand it here anymore. Ferguson is the worst too. Inslee ruined the state and then fled it. What is wrong with these people? That is a good question. Did he flee though? Is he in Idaho? Do we know that? Because I know he was in the King County Superior Court recently. Was the wealth tax buried in an education bill? That is a property tax bill, Kim. And then he wants to make illegal immigrants police officers and prosecutors. What the heck? I want to talk about this one for a minute. I have done, I think Saturday or Sunday, I did a video about Senate Bill 5068. And that's what white wildflowers, that is a mouthful, white wildflowers. Don't try to say that 10 times fast. I couldn't do it. 5068 is a bill that would allow immigrants who are legally authorized to work in the United States according to federal law to become law enforcement officers, prosecutors, firefighters, and I think there were a couple other different professions. Now, what people we're not talking about illegal immigrants, but we are talking about people who come to America and claim refugee or asylee status. They are legally authorized to work. So they don't have a visa, they don't have a green card, they don't have any of that. They've just claimed status. And so those people would be eligible when this bill passes in Washington, those folks would be eligible to be hired as law enforcement officers and prosecutors in the state of Washington. This bill is pretty widely supported on the Republican side, even with the Republican donors and some other, mouthpieces, I guess, on the Republican side. Do support this bill. Lost my train of thought. Now, one of the arguments I've been hearing about this is with military. They're able to, immigrants are able to work or be in the military, enlist in the military. And that's true, but they can't just come here and claim immigrant or refugee or asylee status. They have to go through a process. They have to get their green card, and they are thoroughly vetted before they can become be enlisted in the military. And there are a number of issues with this process. They don't just get to come and sign up. They have to go through a big process, which requires extensive background checking. So this policy that they're looking at in Washington wouldn't have any of that background stuff. It wouldn't require them to be here for any length of time, take any kind of classes, have any special visa or green card or anything like that. It's really just they can claim, that refugee or asylee status. So it's a really bad bill, and it opens the door for so many other bad policies. There was a bill that's kind of dead. Call it zombie status now. Democrats make the rules, so if they want to bring it back, they can. Or if they don't, it will automatically be refiled in January of 2026. And this bill, I forget the number off the top of my head, but it would have allowed the governor-appointed Criminal Justice Training Commission to decertify your elected county sheriff. And when they decertify the sheriff, then this commission, which is appointed by the governor, gets to make the appointment of the new sheriff. Are we headed in a direction where, potentially non-citizens could be appointed as sheriff? I think that there's a number of big problems with this. There's the firearm problem, which the Democrats have addressed in an amendment on the bill, so that, because non-citizens can't have firearms. And so they are amending the bill to ensure that non-citizens would be able to carry a firearm on duty. So they're making laws to ensure that non-citizens have rights to a firearm. All the while, they are working very hard to ensure that citizens do not have firearm rights. You can't make this stuff up. Speaking of firearm rights, there are 2 firearm bills that have a hearing tomorrow. One is the Senate Bill 5098 adds to the list of sensitive places where you can't have a firearm. That has a hearing in the House Appropriations Committee tomorrow. They're all-day hearings, so I think it probably starts at like 8 a.m. So you want to sign in before 7. You can go to ledge.wa.gov, type in the bill number 5098, and there will be a button that says to sign in or testify or something like that. It's a green button on the right-hand side. Click that. The other one is House Bill 1136, which is that permit to purchase a firearm bill. That is being heard in the Senate Ways and Means Committee tomorrow. So this is kind of the last stop for these bills. They're both scheduled for public hearing and executive session. So executive session is the next meeting they'll have when they vote the bill out of committee. So I looked in the new budget that they just passed, and you can actually search by bill numbers. And so I was kind of curious about a number of different bills, and they've already put in funding for these bills. So that is pretty much a sure sign to me that these are going to pass. They're just going through the motions that they have to do. Be interesting to see how long they continue going through the motions since they make the rules. When are they going to make up rules that says they can not do this anymore? We'll see. Okay, another bill that I want to discuss is House Bill 1052. This bill expands on Washington state's hate crime laws. And we came out against this bill when it dropped back in December. Put out a lot of information, put out call to action when it was in committee, opposed, very much opposed, and it passed out of the House with the support of 4 Republicans: April Connors, Jenny Graham, Skylar Rude, and I think his name is Mike. Last name is Steele. I know the last name is Steele. I'm not sure on the first name, but those are the 4 Republicans that voted for it. Now, Jenny Graham was very upset when we posted the roll call on this, which, we didn't call anybody out by name, just posted the roll call and, said, why are Republicans voting for this? And she had put forward an amendment that, it was a really small change to the bill, but it's a significant change. So the bill is, the change that the bill is making to the existing law is small but significant. So it said a person is guilty of a hate crime in whole or in part. So it was just that in whole or in part section that was being added to the law. That way, if somebody had just, maybe partially committed a hate crime, or, maybe I don't know how you partially commit a hate. I don't know how you in whole or in part. Aren't all crimes birthed out of hate. Anyway, so she had done an amendment to add the word substantial before part. So in whole or substantial part. I consulted with my buddy over at Washington Gun Law, Bill Kirk. I said, legally speaking, what does the word substantial change about this? And he said, nothing really, for the most part. But that's why she voted for it because she made this amendment and she made a deal with the Democrats, which is this happens all the time. They make a deal. Here's my amendment. If you accept my amendment, I will vote for the bill. After the bill is voted out of its chamber of origin, it goes over to the other chamber. And what we often see, this deal gets made in so the deal gets made in the House, and then it goes over to the Senate, and the committee in the Senate pulls out that change and passes the bill through the Senate as the original bill. So they take off that Republican amendment. We've seen that a number of times. It is so predictable. And I even said to Jenny, I'm like, this is what they're going to do. They're going to do the exact same thing they did on this other bill just last year that we had the same conversation about. And so I don't understand. And let me put the change up here for you. So this is the amendment. They just voted on this today. It just passed out of the Senate today. And so I just pulled the last page of this here to show you guys, but the effect of the amendment, it reverts to the original bill language by removing the term substantial so that a hate crime offense is specific conduct and is maliciously and intentionally committed in whole or in part because of a person's perception of another person's certain characteristics. Removes the definition of in whole or in substantial part. And so the bill itself is like perception of someone's gender or gender identity or sexuality or sexual identity, color, race, religion. I mean, it's communist garbage. So that is unfortunate, but exactly what I predicted would happen with this bill. And so now Senate Bill or House Bill 1052 will go back to the House for concurrence and they will vote on it again. I don't know if they will try to I don't know if they can make that same amendment. That seems like it would be weird, but it's going to pass. So this is going to become law. And I'm sure that all the Democrats, knew what they were going to do with this particular bill. So that's kind of my update for the week. I'm trying to think if there are any other speaking of Senate Bill 5068, just kind of want to backtrack a little bit on that. That bill is on the floor calendar in the House, so it could get a vote tomorrow by the House in Olympia. And then it has been amended by the Community Safety Committee. So once it gets passed out of the House, it will go back over to the Senate for concurrence, which I'm sure they will do because they want non-citizens to be cops and have firearms and all of that. We've also got a few other bills that you guys might be concerned about that could get voted on any day. The 1321, which is the governor's ability to limit out-of-state militia, which would be like if National Guard came from another state to help with a natural disaster or a border crisis or something like that, they would have to have his permission to be able to come in. House Bill 1531. This gives the state authority in medical emergencies, health emergencies, which also circling back to, I spoke at when I was talking about Bob Ferguson about the Domestic Extremism and Mass Violence Task Force. That is categorized as a public health issue. So I was kind of trying to see if the dots connected on 1531 and the Domestic Extremism Task Force. I don't think that those two do, because the 1531 does seem to apply to medical health. But it's only a matter of time, right, until those two things align. The letter from good idea, Evelyn. Yes. So, was that about Kennewick? I think that was about Kennewick. Or no, who was it? Was that about immigration? That was about ICE. There's so many things. Kennewick is doing amazing things, and their school board just filed a a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights on Title IX. But the Judiciary Committee in Congress sent a letter to Attorney General Nick Brown that they are doing an investigation into the AG's interference with the Adams County Sheriff. Thank you, Evelyn. Because they filed some kind of lawsuit or complaint. I don't know the official thing that they did, but against the Adams County Sheriff, because he was assisting the federal government and ICE with getting illegal immigrants out of Washington state. And Nick Brown did not like that. Ferguson didn't like that. And so they filed something against the Adams County Sheriff. And now Congress is responding to that, thanks to Representative Michael Baumgartner from the Spokane area. So it's great to see that some of the representation that we have over, that y'all in Washington have in DC, are working to try to help with some of these things. And Dan Newhouse is working to help the Kennewick School District as well. That's in his district. So that was really nice to hear. The school board directors, Gabe Galbraith and Micah Valentine from Kennewick, that I had them on a live stream on Sunday, which you can find on our YouTube channel as well. But they texted me the other day and said that Rep Newhouse was gonna be helping them and doing something on that. So that is really good to hear. Washington needs as much federal attention as possible to try to rein in some of the crazy that's going on. There's crazy going on all over the country. Oh, kind of my last note here, Idaho, the Governor Little vetoed a medical freedom bill that was passed through the legislature, and they just had it back on the Senate floor, I believe, to override the veto, and it didn't pass. So thanks to Republicans, it didn't pass. So that's really disappointing. It's really, really discouraging when Republicans play politics like that. Like, how hard is it just to do the right thing and live by the Constitution and do what your constituents want you to do? So that is why, regardless of red state, blue state, it is critical that citizens get engaged and speak up and hold their elected officials accountable. Because if we don't, they'll just continue to be accountable to big donors and all these big corporations and special interest groups, and not do what's right for we the people. So if we want to preserve our country, we have got to get some skin in the game and become active, more than just posting and sharing things on social media. We actually have to speak up. And on that note, I'm going to send my representative, Greg Stubbe, an email and let him know what I think about his vote 2 days ago, or was it yesterday, on the proxy voting. So I'm going to let him know what I think about that. And I think that we need to get in the habit of doing that. I do it probably more often than, well, I don't think you can do it too often. So anyway, thank you all for joining me today. And thank you to our leadership team who has been in the chat, Joy and Leslie and Jeannie. They all work so hard and are fighting for conservative values and truth, and fighting for our country and our state and our children and our families. And they're amazing. I have an amazing team and appreciate them all so much. Appreciate you for watching and tuning in. Please do share this on replay with other citizens so they know what's going on and know how they can get engaged and take action. I will see you next week, same time, same place.